Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. To live is the rarest thing in the world. Most people exist, that is all. Experience is merely the name men gave to their mistakes. No man is rich enough to buy back his past. I am so clever that sometimes I don't understand a single word of what I am saying. The truth is rarely pure and never simple. We are all in the gutter, but some of us are looking at the stars. The books that the world calls immoral are books that show the world its own shame. There is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. The only way to get rid of a temptation is to yield to it. Life is far too important a thing ever to talk seriously about. Whenever people agree with me, I always feel I must be wrong. To define is to limit. One's real life is so often the life that one does not lead. Some cause happiness wherever they go, others whenever they go. Life imitates art far more than art imitates life. There is no sin except stupidity. A man who does not think for himself does not think at all. The world was my oyster, but I used the wrong fork. To love oneself is the beginning of a lifelong romance. Never love anyone who treats you like you're ordinary. The heart was made to be broken. Women are meant to be loved, not to be understood. The very essence of romance is uncertainty. To win back my youth, there is nothing I wouldn't do except take exercise, get up early, or be respectable. Men always want to be a woman's first love. Women like to be a man's last romance. Deceiving others. That is what the world calls a romance. The mystery of love is greater than the mystery of death. Hatred is blind as well as love. In this world, there are only two tragedies. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. Art is the most intense mode of individualism that the world has known. A work of art is the unique result of a unique temperament. No artist desires to prove anything. Even things that are true can be proved. Art is the only serious thing in the world, and the artist is the only person who is never serious. All art is quite useless. A writer is someone who has taught his mind to misbehave. Consistency is the last refuge of the unimaginative. Art should never try to be popular. The public should try to make itself artistic. An idea that is not dangerous is unworthy of being called an idea at all. There is no such thing as a moral or an immoral book. Books are well written or badly written. That is all. I can resist everything except temptation. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. Fashion is a form of ugliness so intolerable that we have to alter it every 6 months. If one cannot enjoy reading a book over and over again, there is no use in reading it at all. It is absurd to divide people into good and bad. People are either charming or tedious. A good friend will always stab you in the front. Every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Work is the curse of the drinking classes. Moderation is a fatal thing. Nothing succeeds like excess. I have the simplest tastes. I am always satisfied with the best. He has no enemies, but is intensely disliked by his friends. Morality is simply the attitude we adopt toward people we personally dislike. A thing is not necessarily true because a man dies for it. Education is an admirable thing, but it is well to remember that nothing worth knowing can be taught. Selfishness is not living as one wishes to live. It is asking others to live as one wishes to live. No woman should ever be quite accurate about her age. It looks so calculating. An excellent man. He has no enemies and none of his friends like him. The basis of optimism is sheer terror. There are many things that we would throw away if we were not afraid that others might pick them up. All women become like their mothers. That is their tragedy. No man does, and that is his. Life is never fair, and perhaps it is a good thing for most of us that it is not. A bore is someone who deprives you of solitude without providing you with company. One should always play fairly when one has the winning cards. No good deed goes unpunished. It takes a great deal of courage to see the world in all its tainted glory and still to love it. In this world, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. The public is wonderfully tolerant. It forgives everything except genius. Ambition is the last refuge of the failure. The old believe everything, the middle-aged suspect everything, the young know everything. Society often forgives the criminal. It never forgives the dreamer. The one charm about marriage is that it makes a life of deception absolutely necessary for both parties. When one is in love, one begins by deceiving oneself, and one ends by deceiving others. Men marry because they are tired, women because they are curious. Both are disappointed. Marriage is the triumph of imagination over intelligence. One should always be in love. That is the reason one should never marry. Nothing spoils romance so much as a sense of humor in the woman, or the lack of it in the man. Women have a wonderful instinct about things. They can discover everything except the obvious. The very essence of love is uncertainty. There are only two kinds of people who are really fascinating. People who know absolutely everything, and people who know absolutely nothing. A man's face is his autobiography. A woman's face is her work of fiction. Art is the only serious thing in the world, and the artist is the only person who is never serious. An artist should create beautiful things, but should put nothing of his own life into them. It is through art, and through art only, that we can realize our perfection. Art is individualism, and individualism is a disturbing and disintegrating force. The artist is the creator of beautiful things. All bad art comes from returning to life and nature and elevating them into ideals. Every portrait that is painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not of the sitter. No great artist ever sees things as they really are. If he did, he would cease to be an artist. In the old days, books were written by men of letters and read by the public. Nowadays, books are written by the public and read by nobody. The critic has to educate the public. The artist has to educate the critic. Ordinary riches can be stolen. Real riches cannot. In your soul are infinitely precious things that cannot be taken from you. Thinking is the most unhealthy thing in the world, and people die of it just as they die of any other disease. The intellect is not a serious thing, and never has been. It is an instrument on which one plays, that is all. An idea that is not dangerous is unworthy of being called an idea at all. A poet can survive everything but a misprint. Everything popular is wrong. He who stands most remote from his age is he who mirrors it best. There is only one class in the community that thinks more about money than the rich, and that is the poor. Education is an admirable thing, but nothing worth knowing can be taught. One should absorb the color of life, but one should never remember its details. Morality, like art, means drawing a line somewhere. The good ended happily, and the bad unhappily. That is what fiction means. Whenever a man does a thoroughly stupid thing, it is always from the noblest motives. No man is truly great who is great only in his own lifetime. People who count their chickens before they are hatched act very wisely, because chickens run about so absurdly that it is impossible to count them accurately. Patriotism is the virtue of the vicious. The basis of all scandal is an immoral certainty. The difference between literature and journalism is that journalism is unreadable and literature is not read. A sentimentalist is simply one who desires to have the luxury of an emotion without paying for it. An optimist will tell you the glass is half full, the pessimist, half empty, and the realist will tell you the glass contains twice as much liquid as it needs. A little sincerity is a dangerous thing, and a great deal of it is absolutely fatal. There are only two tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it. Seriousness is the only refuge of the shallow. If you want to tell people the truth, make them laugh, otherwise they'll kill you. If there was less sympathy in the world, there would be less trouble in the world. In matters of utmost importance, style, not sincerity, is the vital thing. Life is too important to be taken seriously. It is always with the best intentions that the worst work is done. What is a cynic? A man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. We live in an age when unnecessary things are our only necessities. To be popular, one must be a mediocrity. A gentleman is one who never hurts anyone's feelings unintentionally. We are each our own devil, and we make this world our hell. One should always be a little improbable. Nothing can cure the soul but the senses, just as nothing can cure the senses but the soul. How can a woman be expected to be happy with a man who insists on treating her as if she were a perfectly normal human being? To expect the unexpected shows a thoroughly modern intellect. I never put off till tomorrow what I can possibly do the day after. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. A pessimist is somebody who complains about the noise when opportunity knocks. Every great man has his disciples, and it is always Judas who writes the biography. Success is a science. If you have the conditions, you get the result. Nothing is so aggravating as calmness. Duty is what one expects from others, not what one does oneself. There is always something ridiculous about the emotions of people whom one has ceased to love. Those who find ugly meanings in beautiful things are corrupt without being charming. Every portrait painted with feeling is a portrait of the artist, not the sitter. There is no such thing as an omen. Destiny does not send us heralds. She is too wise or too cruel for that. I never travel without my diary. One should always have something sensational to read in the train. The youth of America is their oldest tradition. It has been going on now for 300 years.